Which reel should you choose? High gear ratio or slow gear ratio? Let's figure this one out. So, in this video I will cover various mechanical differences and also I will cover various fishing situations where reel's gear ratio matters the most. If you are not aware, gear ratio on a spinning reel means very basic thing. So one full turn of a handle will spin the rotor certain amount of times. So in this case I have a Daiwa Tatula which has gear ratio 6.2 to 1, and that means one full turn of a handle will spin the rotor 6.2 times. Then I have a Daiwa Ballistic here, again at 2000 size, and gear ratio on this reel is 5.2 to 1. And again, it means that one full circle of the handle will spin the rotor 5.2 times. In general, spinning reels are classed into three main categories. There are slow, regular, and fast. Fast ones are those which do have gear ratio 6 to 1 or higher. Regular ones are those which do have gear ratio from 5 to 1 to 6 to 1. And slow ones are those which have gear ratio under 5. To put it simply, on any spinning reel, different gear ratio is achieved by using different size main gears, and also the amount of the teeth on those gears do matter as well. In general, those high gear ratio reels will have one bigger gear and then one smaller gear, and therefore those high gear ratio reels won't have as much torque compared to those lower ones. Obviously, you don't have to look very far. For example, multi-speed bicycles. And if you would look at how the main gears are arranged, when you are on the top gear, you would see that on the front gear, the chain would be on the biggest gear, and on the rear set of gears, the chain would be on the smallest gear. And very similar situation applies to the reels. Obviously, the sizes of the gears are not very well balanced on those higher reels, but I will come to that a little bit later when I will be talking about the application of the reel. Now let's talk about the numbers for a bit. For example, I have already mentioned I have here Daiwa Ballistic 2000 size with a gear ratio of 5.2 to 1, and this reel picks up 68 centimeters of line per turn. Then I have exactly the same size reel, so 2000 Daiwa Tatula with a gear ratio 6.2 to 1. So basically, by making one turn of a handle, this reel spins exactly one time more, or the rotor spins one time more. And this reel picks up 81 centimeters of line. So, and that's about 90 to 20% more. You might think it's not a lot really, but let's consider that you are fishing and using lures, and on an average day, let's say you would make 500 casts. Let's say half of that time whilst you are fishing will be the time when you will be retrieving actually. Maybe casting, like performing long cast, giving a couple twitches, maybe close to some feature. You perform a couple twitches, then you turn your handle a couple times, but that's it, you are away from the feature. And then you need to reel in as quickly as possible to save the time. And then those 20% will make very, very big difference. It will save you minutes, like lots and lots of minutes, and lots of like muscles in the fingers and in the hand as well, because you will need to spin the handle less times. And especially in those situations when you will miss a bite and you will want to get it out quickly and cast again and hopefully hook that fish by giving it another chance. So fast reels in certain situations are definitely the way to go, not always. I will come to that a little bit later. And now let's talk about various fishing situations when reels choice can be a crucial one. I will start with a high speed or high gear ratio reels. As I mentioned, these reels, they do not have as much torque and they are just not powerful and they are not designed to be used when heavy weights are attached onto the line. They just won't be able to cope and they will give up much quicker. So when to use high gear ratio reels, I would say there are quite a few situations. First of all, when you will be using lures, so lure fishing, and when you will be like fishing at distance or you will need to perform long casts to a features, so over bank, some boat, some jetty, etc. But then in the open water there won't be any fish, so you will want to cast close to the feature, give a couple of twitches. If nothing will happen, then you will quickly reel in and cast again, maybe to another feature or a little bit further, right, left, whatever. So that's one situation. Obviously those lures must be light ones, because as I said, that's really those fast or high gear ratio reels are designed for finesse, or just they do not cope with heavy load, and like being under heavy load constantly, they just give up. So that was the first situation. The second one is when you will be fishing on the float, say slider, waggler, stick float, whatever, but at distance. Again, float rigs most of the time will be light ones and quite aerodynamic and hydrodynamic, so they are going easily through the water. So high speed reels is a great advantage as well when you are using light float rigs. They allow to cast far and then retrieve the rig very quickly, which is a great bonus. And the third situation I would say is when high speed reel will help you is when you will be fishing on the fast rivers for trout, for example, and when you will need to cast upstream and retrieve your lure kind of downstream faster than the flow. It will be much easier with a fast reel. Okay, let's move on. I don't have at hand any slow reels, but again, those reels which do have gear ratio under 5:1 are suitable for really heavy duty work. So feeder fishing, when you will have like big feeders and they won't be quite hydrodynamic, so they will create lots and lots of drag when retrieved, sometimes with the fish at speed as well. Also carp fishing, because sometimes you will be using quite big leads. Sometimes you will need to kind of wind the lead with a bunch of feed around it as well, quite quickly as well. So the reel must be powerful. And the third situation would be like heavy lure fishing, when you will be using like big flies, big jerks, something like that. The lures which do create lots and lots of drag in the water. Big minnows as well, anything what creates lots of drag. Then you want to be using slow reels. When it comes to the regular gear ratio reels, so from 5 to 1 to 6 to 1, they're actually ideal in most situations, I would say. Obviously, they won't be as good when you will need the speed or when you will be dragging heavy weights attached to the line constantly. Obviously, those regular gear ratio reels, they just don't have as much torque as those low and powerful reels has. But again, if you will take your time, you should be fine. For example, when you will need the speed, obviously you will need to reel very quickly, and nothing will happen for the reel because it will be only your muscles which will be working like more. But then if you will need to drag heavy weights with those regular gear ratio reels, then you will have to reel slower, much slower, to make sure that the reel is not overloaded like in short amount of time. Other than that, you should be fine. But again, you have the choices. I will not say that regular one is perfect for any situation. I use every single type of reel. I have fast, I have regular, and on my feeder rods and carp rods I have slow reels, which are very powerful and strong ones. So, before picking up a reel, think very carefully what kind of fishing you will be using that reel for, and then you will have a clear winner based on this video. But it will be it from me for today. Thanks for watching and see you in the next one.